The alarm sounded across the United Earth Space Command station like nothing Jake Morrison had ever heard before. He was in his quarters halfway through his morning coffee when the red emergency lights started flashing. His communicator buzzed with an urgency that made his heart race. "All senior officers to the command center immediately," the voice said. It was Admiral Linda Hayes, and she sounded shaken. That was unusual. The Admiral never sounded shaken. Jake grabbed his uniform jacket and ran. The corridors were filled with confused personnel, all heading in the same direction. When he burst through the command center doors, he saw every screen showing the same impossible thing. A ship. Not just any ship, but one that shouldn't exist anymore. "Is that what I think it is?" Jake asked, staring at the displays. Admiral Hayes nodded slowly. "The ECS Horizon. It vanished in 2087. That was 100 years ago, Commander Morrison." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the story of the Horizon. It had been one of Earth's first deep space exploration vessels, sent out to map the outer regions of the solar system. 15 crew members. State-of-the-art technology for its time. Then one day it simply disappeared. No distress call. No debris, nothing. Search teams looked for months and found absolutely nothing, and now it was back. "Where did it appear?" Jake asked. "Edge of the solar system, near the Kuiper Belt," said Lieutenant Amy Crawford, the station's chief engineer. She was pulling up data screens as fast as her fingers could move. It just appeared out of nowhere. No warp signature, no energy buildup. 1 second empty space, the next second there it was. Jake studied the images more carefully. Something was very wrong with the ship. The Horizon he remembered from history books was a simple research vessel, built with early fusion engines and basic hull plating. The thing on the screen looked nothing like that. The hull gleamed with a strange metallic surface that seemed to shift colors as the scanning beams hit it. Patterns flowed across its surface like water, geometric shapes that appeared and disappeared. The ship's design was still recognizable, but it had been transformed into something that looked more like art than engineering. "What's that energy reading?" Admiral Hayes asked, pointing at one of the displays. Amy's face went pale. "That's impossible. The power output is reading at levels that would require a reactor 10 times the size of anything we have. And that's just idle power. Whatever they have running that ship, it's technology we've never seen before." "Life signs?" Jake asked. Amy checked her instruments and her hands started shaking. 15. Exactly 15 human life signs. The same number as the original crew. The room erupted in confused voices. 100 years had passed. Even if the crew had survived somehow, they would be ancient or dead by now. Yet the readings were clear. 15 humans, all showing vital signs that indicated they were in perfect health. Admiral Hayes made a decision. "Commander Morrison, take a team and intercept that ship. I want you to board it and find out what happened. Take Lieutenant Crawford with you. If this is some kind of trick or trap, I want our best engineer there to analyze it." Jake assembled his team quickly. Besides Amy, he brought along Ryan Cooper, their security chief, and Katie Phillips, one of their best pilots. They boarded the interceptor ship Valiant and launched within the hour. The flight out to the Horizon's position took 6 hours. Jake spent that time reviewing everything they knew about the original mission. Captain Peter Grant had been in command. His crew included scientists, engineers, and explorers. All of them were experienced, but none of them had any training for whatever they had encountered out there. As the Valiant approached the Horizon, Jake got his first close look at the transformed ship. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull material rippled like liquid mercury, but sensors showed it was solid and harder than any alloy humans had ever created. Energy patterns danced across its surface in colors that seemed to exist outside normal spectrum. "I'm picking up a signal," Katie said from the pilot seat. "It's an old Earth frequency." "They're hailing us. Put it through," Jake ordered. The view screen flickered to life, and Jake found himself staring at a man who looked exactly like the historical photos of Captain Peter Grant. Same dark hair, same sharp eyes, same small scar on his left cheek from a childhood accident. But that was impossible. This man should be over 150 years old. "United Earth vessel, this is Captain Peter Grant of the ECS Horizon," the man said. His voice was calm, as if he had just returned from a routine mission. "Permission to come aboard your station. We have a lot to report." Jake struggled to find words. "Captain Grant, do you know how long you've been gone?" Peter smiled slightly. "We've been tracking Earth's calendar from the moment we could pick up broadcasts again. We know it's been a century for you. For us, it's been about 3 months. That's not possible, Amy whispered. Neither is most of what we've experienced, Peter replied. Commander Morrison, I assume? Your transponder identifies you as the team leader. I promise we're not hostile and we're still human. But we need to get back to Earth as soon as possible. What we found out here changes everything. Jake made a decision. Prepare to be boarded, Captain. We'll escort you back to the station, but I warn you there will be extensive security protocols. Understood completely, Peter said. We expected nothing less. Horizon out, the screen went dark. Jake looked at his team. Ryan had his hand on his weapon. Amy was reviewing scans with a look of complete confusion. Katie was simply staring at the transformed ship with wide eyes. Whatever's on that ship, Ryan said quietly. It's not the same vessel that left Earth 100 years ago. No, Jake agreed. It's something else entirely. They docked with the Horizon through an airlock that formed itself from the hull material like living metal. Jake led his team aboard, weapons ready but not raised. The interior of the ship was just as transformed as the exterior. Corridors glowed with soft light that had no visible source. The walls had a smooth, organic quality that was unlike any human construction. Captain Peter Grant and his crew were waiting in what had once been the bridge. All 15 of them looked exactly as they had in photos from 2087. Young, healthy, and completely unchanged by time. Welcome aboard the Horizon, Peter said, extending his hand to Jake. I know you have 1,000 questions. So did we when this all started. Let me begin with the most important thing you need to know. He paused and his expression became serious. We found them, the ones who came before us. They left something behind and it chose to teach us. Everything we knew about the universe was wrong. And now that we're back, humanity's real journey is about to begin. Jake shook the captain's hand, feeling that everything in human history had just changed in that single moment. Whatever the Horizon had found out there in the dark, it had transformed not just a ship, but the entire future of the human race. The medical bay at Earth's orbital command station had never been so crowded. Dr. Lisa Warren stood outside the examination room, watching through the observation window as her team ran tests on the Horizon crew. Every result that came back made less sense than the last one. Their cellular structure has been completely rewritten, her assistant said, showing her the latest scans. Look at this. Their DNA has additional sequences that shouldn't exist. It's like someone took human genetics and upgraded them. Lisa had been studying biology for 30 years. She had seen diseases, mutations, and genetic modifications. But this was something else entirely. The Horizon crew weren't sick or altered in any harmful way. They had been improved at a fundamental level that human science couldn't explain. Captain Peter Grant sat calmly in the examination chair, letting the scanners pass over him. He looked relaxed, almost amused by all the attention. When Lisa entered the room, he smiled at her. I know the results don't make sense, Dr. Warren, he said. We had the same reaction when we first realized what had happened to us. Captain Grant, I need you to tell me everything, Lisa said, pulling up a chair. Start from the beginning. What did you find out there? Peter took a deep breath and began his story. The Horizon had been investigating strange readings near the Kuiper Belt. They had detected something that looked like a derelict spacecraft, massive and ancient. At first, they thought it might be an alien vessel from some long-dead civilization. We were so excited, Peter said. First contact, even if it was just with ruins. We approached carefully, took every precaution, but we were wrong about what it was. The structure wasn't a ship. It was something called an archive. Peter explained that it was a vast library of knowledge, left behind by beings who called themselves the architects. These beings had existed millions of years ago, and they had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe in ways that seemed like magic. They left these archives scattered across the galaxy, Peter continued. Each one contains all their knowledge. Science, technology, philosophy, everything. But they're not just databases. They're teaching machines. Engineer Danny Price joined the conversation through a video link from another examination room. He was a thin man with nervous energy, and he spoke quickly as he explained the technical details. When we connected our ship's computer to the archive, it started a download process, Danny said. But it wasn't just copying information. The archive was actively teaching us, adjusting the lessons based on how we responded. It was like having the universe's best teacher working with us 24 hours a day. The process had taken what felt like 3 months to the crew. They had studied and learned, their minds expanding to comprehend concepts that human science hadn't even imagined. The archive taught them about space-time manipulation, matter reorganization, energy generation from quantum fields, and 1,000 other technologies. But there was a side effect. The archive didn't just teach them, it changed them. The knowledge was too much for normal human brains to hold, Peter explained. So the archive modified us. It rewrote our cellular structure, enhanced our neural pathways, and even altered our perception of time. We needed these changes to understand what we were learning. Amy Crawford had been listening from the doorway. But why did 100 years pass outside while you only experienced 3 months? Time dilation, Danny answered. The archive existed partially outside normal space-time. While we were learning, we were in a kind of bubble where time moved differently. We didn't realize it until we left and started picking up Earth's broadcasts again. Pilot Kelly Barnes was in another room, demonstrating her new abilities to a group of stunned scientists. She held out her hand and concentrated. The air above her palm shimmered, and suddenly a perfect diamond appeared, forming from nothing. "I'm not creating it from nothing," Kelly explained to the scientists. "There's carbon dioxide in the air. I'm just rearranging the atoms. The archive taught me how to perceive matter at the quantum level and manipulate it with focused thought. The demonstration caused chaos among the observers. This was technology that human science said was impossible, yet Kelly made it look as easy as breathing." Back in the examination room, Lisa asked the question that everyone wanted answered. Why did the architects leave these archives? What did they want? Peter's expression became serious. They were looking for inheritors, species that could learn their knowledge and use it wisely. The galaxy is full of civilizations that found these archives. Some used the knowledge to help their people. Others used it to destroy themselves or conquer their neighbors. Security Chief Ryan Cooper, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "So this is a test." "They're judging us, in a way," Peter agreed. "But it's not the architects doing the judging anymore. They're long gone. The test is whether we can handle this power without destroying ourselves." The archive showed us what happened to 17 other civilizations that failed. The crew members took turns explaining what they had learned. The archive had given them knowledge of medicine that could cure any disease. They could heal injuries by accelerating the body's natural repair processes. They had learned to generate nearly unlimited energy from the quantum fluctuations in empty space. They could manipulate gravity, allowing for faster-than-light travel without the problems that had always plagued human theories. But with each revelation, Peter emphasized the same warning. The knowledge was dangerous. Civilizations that advanced too quickly without wisdom had destroyed themselves. Some created weapons that sterilized their own planets. Others became so dependent on technology that they forgot how to survive without it. A few had even tried to modify themselves so extensively that they stopped being the species they started as. "That's why we're being careful about what we share," Peter said. "We're going to help humanity advance, but we need to do it slowly and carefully. We can't just hand over everything at once." Admiral Hayes joined them in the medical bay. She had been listening to everything from the command center. Her face showed the weight of the decisions she knew were coming. "Captain Grant, I need to know something," she said. "Are you still human? Are you still loyal to Earth?" Peter stood up and looked her directly in the eyes. "Admiral, we're more human than we've ever been. The archive didn't erase who we were. It gave us the tools to become better versions of ourselves. We've spent 3 months learning the secrets of the universe, and you know what the most important lesson was? That humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our ability to care about each other, to work together, to choose cooperation over conquest." He paused, then continued. "We're loyal to Earth and to humanity. We came back to share what we learned. But there's something else you need to know. We're not the only ones who know about the Horizon's return." The room went quiet. Amy asked the question everyone was thinking. "Who else knows?" "3 alien civilizations have detected our energy signature," Peter said. "They all found architect archives in the past. They're coming here to meet us. Some want to be friends, some want to test us, and some are just curious about how humanity will handle this knowledge." Lisa felt her heart racing. First contact, not with 1 alien species, but with 3, and they were coming to Earth. "How long do we have?" Admiral Hayes asked. Peter checked something on a device that seemed to appear in his hand from nowhere. "About 2 weeks. Maybe less if they use their fastest ships." The Admiral straightened her shoulders. "Then we have 2 weeks to prepare. Captain Grant, I'm going to need your crew to teach us everything you can about these aliens and how to defend ourselves if necessary. We'll do better than that, Peter said. We'll help you build ships that use architect technology. Earth is about to take its first real step into the galaxy. We're going to make sure humanity is ready. The news spread across Earth faster than anyone could control. Within 24 hours, every human colony from Mars to the outer stations knew about the horizon and what it had brought back. The reactions were exactly what Admiral Hayes had feared. Chaos. Religious groups declared it a miracle. Some said the architects were angels. Others called them demons. Protests erupted in major cities on Earth, with people demanding that the alien technology be destroyed before it corrupted humanity. Scientists fought for access to the knowledge. Governments argued about who should control it. Admiral Hayes stood in the command center, watching news feeds from around the solar system. She looked exhausted. Jake Morrison brought her coffee and stood beside her. "It's getting worse," she said quietly. 3 governments are threatening to send military ships to seize the horizon. 2 religious groups are planning attacks on the station, and half the scientific community is accusing us of hiding information. "What does Captain Grant say?" Jake asked. "He says this is normal. Every civilization goes through this when they first get access to architect knowledge. It's part of the test. Can we handle the chaos without destroying ourselves?" On the lower levels of the station, Captain Peter Grant and his crew were already working. They had set up a medical center where Dr. Lisa Warren was learning the new healing techniques. She had volunteered to be the first person outside the Horizon crew to receive the cellular modifications. The process was strange. Peter explained that it wasn't surgery or injection. The archive technology worked at the quantum level, rewriting her cellular structure atom by atom. Lisa lay on a table while energy fields she couldn't see made changes she couldn't feel. When it was done, she sat up and felt different. The world looked sharper. She could see colors she had never noticed before. When she focused on her own body, she could sense every cell, every heartbeat, every breath. It was overwhelming and amazing at the same time. "How do you feel?" Peter asked. "Like I just woke up from a dream I didn't know I was having," Lisa said. She held out her hand and concentrated, remembering what Kelly had shown her. A small flower formed in her palm, perfect and real, made from the elements in the air around them. She laughed with pure joy, but not everyone was celebrating. Navigator Chris Bennett had picked up new signals from deep space. He called an emergency meeting with Admiral Hayes and the senior staff. "They're here," Chris said, pulling up a display. 3 separate fleets all approaching from different directions. "They'll arrive within 48 hours. The screen showed 3 distinct energy signatures. Peter identified them immediately. The Navari, the Thulkan, and the Zelathi, just as the archive predicted. He explained what the Horizon crew had learned about each species. The Navari were peaceful traders who had used their architect knowledge to become the galaxy's merchants. They traveled from world to world, buying and selling goods, sharing information, and making connections between civilizations. They were friendly but shrewd, always looking for profit. The Thulkan were warriors. Their culture valued strength above everything else. When they found their architect archive 500 years ago, they used the knowledge to build the most powerful military in their region of space. They weren't conquerors, but they respected only those who could prove themselves in combat. The Zelathi were the most mysterious. They had found their archive so long ago that they had transformed themselves completely. They were barely biological anymore, existing partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that humans couldn't perceive. "The Navari will want to trade," Peter explained. "They'll offer us access to galactic markets, star charts, and information. In return, they'll want resources and technology from Earth." "And the Thulkan?" Admiral Hayes asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "They'll want to test us. In their culture, every new inheritor species must prove their worth through combat trials. If we refuse, they'll assume we're too weak to deserve the architect legacy. They'll quarantine our entire solar system." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "What kind of combat trials?" "Ship-to-ship battles, usually. They'll want to see if we can use the architect technology effectively in combat. It's not about killing us. It's about proving we're strong enough to survive in a galaxy full of dangerous species." Ryan Cooper, the security chief, was already thinking tactically. "Can we win?" Peter nodded. "If we prepare correctly. The archive taught us everything we need to know, but we have to build the ships first. That's when engineer Amy Crawford revealed what she and Danny Price had been working on for the past week. They had designed a new class of human ships using architect principles. Ships that could fold space, manipulate gravity, and generate shields that worked in ways that seemed impossible. We call them the Pathfinder class, Amy said, showing the designs. They're fast, powerful, and more advanced than anything humans have ever built. But they're also simple enough that we can train pilots quickly. The first ship, the ECS Discovery, was already under construction in the station's main hangar. Workers moved around it like ants, following instructions from the Horizon crew. The hull was being formed from the same shifting metallic material as the Horizon, growing and shaping itself according to programmed patterns. Katie Phillips volunteered to be the first pilot. She went through the cellular modification process, and when it was complete, she felt the change immediately. When she sat in the Discovery's pilot seat, the ship responded to her thoughts. It was like the vessel was an extension of her own body. "This is incredible," she said over the communication system. "I can feel the ship. I can sense space around me like it's something I can touch." Admiral Hayes made her decision. "Build more ships. As many as we can before the aliens arrive. If the Tholkan want a demonstration of our strength, we'll give them one." But Peter had another idea. "Admiral, what if we don't fight them? What if we offer them something better?" He explained his plan. Instead of accepting the Tholkan combat trials, they would challenge them to something different. A collaboration. The archive had shown him an incomplete architect project, a device designed to create stable wormholes between galaxies. The architects had worked on it for centuries but never solved it. If humans and Tholkan can complete it together, we prove that cooperation is stronger than combat. We show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to fight, but our ability to work with others. Jake liked the idea, but he had doubts. Will the Tholkan even consider it? You said they only respect strength. They respect strength, yes, but they also respect bold ideas. No species has ever challenged them to anything other than combat. The audacity of it might intrigue them enough to accept. Lisa, who was still getting used to her new abilities, added another point. And if they refuse, we'll have the ships ready to defend ourselves. We're not gambling everything on diplomacy. The next 2 days were chaos of a different kind. Work on the new ships continued around the clock. More volunteers underwent the cellular modification process, becoming the first generation of enhanced humans. The Horizon crew taught classes on architect technology, trying to compress months of learning into hours. Meanwhile, the 3 alien fleets continued their approach. The Navari sent friendly messages, requesting permission to dock and open trade negotiations. The Tholkan broadcast their challenge, demanding that humanity send their warriors to face the trials. The Zelathi sent no messages at all, just continued their slow, steady approach. On Earth, the chaos was settling into something like acceptance. People were beginning to understand that the world had changed forever. Some still protested, but others were embracing the future. Children looked up at the sky with wonder, knowing that humanity was no longer alone. Admiral Hayes gave a speech that was broadcast across the entire solar system. She stood in the command center, looking directly into the camera. Humanity has always been explorers. We climbed mountains, crossed oceans, and reached for the stars. Now the stars are reaching back. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know if we'll succeed or fail, but we know one thing for certain. We will face this challenge together, as we faced every challenge in our history, not as nations or colonies, but as one human family. As the alien fleets entered the solar system, 5 new Pathfinder-class ships launched from Earth's orbital stations to join the Discovery. They formed up in formation, sleek and powerful, crewed by the bravest volunteers Earth could offer. The galaxy was watching. Humanity's trial was about to begin. The 3 alien fleets arrived within hours of each other, taking positions around Earth's orbital space. Each one was different in ways that made human observers stare in wonder and fear. The Navari ships looked like they were made of crystal, transparent and shimmering with internal light. There were 12 of them, arranged in a perfect geometric pattern, beautiful and peaceful. They broadcast continuous messages of friendship in hundreds of languages, including several human ones they had learned from Earth's radio signals. The Tholkan fleet was different. Their ships were massive, dark, and angular, covered with armor that seemed to absorb light. 20 warships, each one 3 times the size of Earth's largest stations. They moved with precision and purpose, making no attempt to hide their weapons or their power. The Zelathi had only one ship, if you could call it that. It was a living thing, organic and shifting, existing partially in normal space and partially somewhere else. Looking at it made people's eyes hurt. It seemed to be multiple things at once, changing shape based on who was observing it. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Discovery, watching the alien vessels through the viewscreen. His enhanced senses could perceive things normal humans couldn't see. Energy patterns, gravitational distortions, dimensional shifts. It was overwhelming and thrilling at the same time. The Navari are requesting permission to send a delegation. Katie Phillips reported from the pilot seat. They want to meet aboard our station. Admiral Hayes approved the request. Within an hour, a small Navari shuttle docked with the command station. The delegation that emerged was unlike anything humans had expected. Kelvara, the Navari representative, was about 4 feet tall with 8 limbs that seemed to flow more than walk. Its body was made of a crystalline substance that reflected light in rainbow patterns. It had no visible eyes or mouth, but it communicated through mathematical harmonics that the enhanced humans could understand perfectly. Greetings to humanity, Kelvara's harmonics translated through the station's systems. We have traveled far to welcome you to the community of inheritor species. The Navari are pleased to offer friendship and trade opportunities. The creature was genuinely friendly. It showed Admiral Hayes star charts to thousands of worlds, offered access to galactic trade networks, and explained the complex politics of the wider galaxy. But it was also clearly assessing humanity's value as a trading partner. What do you want from us? Admiral Hayes asked directly. Information primarily, Kelvara responded. Humans have unique perspectives and creative solutions. These are valuable in galactic markets. Also, your planet has rare elements that are useful in various industries. We offer technology, goods from distant worlds, and most importantly, knowledge of how to navigate galactic society. Before negotiations could continue, the Tholkan made their move. A single massive shuttle launched from their flagship, heading directly for the human fleet. Jake watched it approach the Discovery, recognizing it for what it was. A warrior's challenge. The shuttle docked, and what emerged made even the enhanced humans step back. Commander Vrektal was 9 feet tall, covered in thick reptilian scales that gleamed like metal. His eyes were sharp and intelligent, studying everything with a warrior's assessment. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rumbling. I am Vrektal of the Tholkan Empire. I come to issue the traditional challenge to the new inheritors. Send your warriors to face our trials. Prove your strength. Earn your place among the worthy or accept quarantine as a protected but lesser species. Peter Grant stepped forward to meet him. Even with his enhancements, Peter looked tiny next to the alien warrior. But he showed no fear. Commander Vrektal, humanity thanks the Tholkan for honoring us with their attention. However, we respectfully decline the combat trials. The alien's eyes narrowed dangerously. Around the solar system, the Tholkan warships powered up their weapons. Jake felt the tension on every ship's bridge. You refuse? Vrektal's voice was hard. This is not optional. All inheritor species must prove themselves. We don't refuse to prove ourselves, Peter replied calmly. We refuse to prove ourselves through combat alone. We propose an alternative trial, one that will test both our species and potentially benefit both as well. He explained his idea about the Incomplete Architect project, the device that could create stable wormholes between galaxies. Peter brought up holographic displays showing the archive's data on the project, highlighting where the architects had failed. The architects themselves couldn't solve this problem, Peter said. They worked on it for centuries with no success. But what if 2 species working together could succeed where the architects failed? That would prove something far more impressive than victory in combat. Vrektal stared at the displays for a long moment. The tension in the room was overwhelming. Finally, the alien warrior made a sound that might have been laughter. This is unprecedented. No species has ever proposed such a thing. He studied Peter with new interest. You are either very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both. But the audacity of this proposal intrigues me. I will consult with my commanders. The Tholkan warrior returned to his shuttle. For 6 hours, humanity waited while the alien fleet remained on high alert. Then Vrektal returned with his answer. The Tholkan accept your challenge. We will work together on this project. But know this, humans. If you fail, If this collaboration proves that your species is weak or unreliable, the quarantine will be permanent, your solar system will be sealed, and humanity will never reach the stars. We understand the stakes, Admiral Hayes said. We accept them. Work began immediately. A combined team of humans and Tholkan scientists set up in a specially constructed laboratory on one of Earth's orbital stations. Amy Crawford and Danny Price led the human effort, while Rektal personally commanded the Tholkan team. The cultural differences became apparent immediately. Tholkan scientists worked in complete silence, each one focused on their individual tasks with fierce concentration. They viewed asking for help as a sign of weakness. Human scientists naturally talked to each other, sharing ideas and building on each other's concepts. This isn't working, Amy said to Peter after the first day. The Tholkan won't communicate with us. They just grunt and go back to their work. They're testing us, Peter explained. They want to see if we'll adapt to their way or insist on our own. We need to show them that cooperation doesn't mean weakness. Katie Phillips, who had been observing the Tholkan work methods, suggested a solution. What if we demonstrate the results first? Show them what our collaborative approach can achieve, then let them decide if they want to participate. The human team focused on one aspect of the project, the energy containment field. By working together, sharing insights and building on each other's ideas, they solved it in 3 days. When they demonstrated the working system to the Tholkan, Rektal's team looked genuinely surprised. You solved this? Already? One of the Tholkan scientists examined their work carefully. Our best minds have been working on similar problems for months with no success. We did it together, Amy explained. Each person contributed something different. Alone, none of us could have done it. Together, we found the answer. Something shifted in the Tholkan team. They started asking questions, not demanding but genuinely curious. How did the humans organize their work? How did they decide who worked on what? How did they resolve disagreements? Slowly, very slowly, the two teams began to truly collaborate. Tholkan precision and systematic thinking, combined with human creativity and intuitive problem-solving. They learned each other's strengths and compensated for each other's weaknesses. Meanwhile, the Zelathi remained mysterious. Their ship drifted silently through the solar system, observing but never communicating. Captain Peter Grant, whose enhanced mind could interpret their strange signals better than anyone, picked up faint transmissions. They're studying us, he told Admiral Hayes. Recording everything. They're not here to judge or challenge. They're gathering data on how humanity develops. Should we be worried? The Admiral asked. No. The Zelathi are beyond our understanding, but they're not hostile. They're just curious about how a new inheritor species will grow. They've seen thousands of civilizations rise and fall. We're just another data point to them. 2 weeks into the project, the combined human Tholkan team had made incredible progress. They had solved problems that had stumped the architects. The device was taking shape, a massive ring of exotic matter that could fold space across galactic distances. During one late-night work session, Rektal approached Amy with something that might have been respect. Your species is strange, he said. You are physically weak. Your technology was primitive, yet you solve problems that defeated beings far more advanced. How? Amy smiled. We're good at working together. That's our strength, not individual power, but collective achievement. The Tholkan warrior considered this. Perhaps there are different types of strength. This is a new concept for my people. You are teaching us something valuable, human engineer. As the project neared completion, even the Navari became interested. Shelvara requested permission to observe, offering insights from the extensive Navari trade archives. The collaborative effort had grown from L. The day the device activated was a moment that would be remembered in human history forever. Representatives from every nation on Earth, every colony in the solar system, and all 3 alien species gathered around the massive orbital platform where the wormhole generator had been built. Amy Crawford and her Tholkan counterpart, a scientist named Krevnor, stood at the control console together. 3 weeks of constant work had brought them to this moment. They looked at each other, nodded, and activated the device. Energy flowed through the exotic matter ring, bending space in ways that physics said shouldn't be possible. The air inside the ring shimmered and twisted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality tore open like a curtain being pulled aside. Through the opening, everyone could see another galaxy. Stars clustered in unfamiliar patterns. Nebulas glowed in colors humans had no names for. And there were ships, thousands of them from hundreds of different species, all waiting on the other side. The wormhole stabilized, perfectly stable. The architects had failed for centuries, but humans and Tholkan together had succeeded in weeks. Commander Vrektal stared at the wormhole with an expression that might have been awe. Impossible. We actually did it. No, Amy corrected gently. We did it together. That's what made it possible. Signals started coming through the wormhole immediately. Welcome messages from civilizations across the galaxy. Species that had been waiting for humanity to prove itself. Species that wanted to meet the newcomers who had solved an architect problem through cooperation, rather than conquest. Admiral Hayes received the transmissions with tears in her eyes. Humanity wasn't alone. The galaxy was full of life, and all of it was reaching out to welcome Earth. Vrektal approached Admiral Hayes and performed a gesture that Peter Grant recognized from the Architect archives. A formal declaration of respect between equals. The Tholkan Empire declares humanity worthy, the warrior said. You are battle-proven not through combat but through something we had not considered. Your ability to unite different minds toward a common goal is a form of strength we had underestimated. We offer alliance and military partnership. The Navari were equally pleased. Chelvara's crystalline form shimmered with colors that indicated joy. The Navari Collective welcomes humanity to galactic markets. We will establish trade routes, share star charts, and include Earth in our network. Your creative problem-solving will be valued across 1,000 worlds. Even the mysterious Zelati responded. Their ship pulsed with energy, and Peter Grant received a transmission that he struggled to translate. When he finally understood it, he smiled. The Zelati approve. They say humanity has chosen a path that few species take. Most inheritors use architect knowledge to increase their own power. We used it to connect with others. That's rare enough to be worth preserving. But the Zelati had another gift. Their ship moved closer to Earth's orbit and released something. A seed, but not a plant seed. It was a living technology seed, a piece of their own ship's organic material. Instructions came with it on how to grow it into a full vessel. They're giving us their ship technology, Peter said in amazement. This is how they show respect. By sharing something precious. The celebrations lasted for days, but there was also work to do. The galaxy was open, and humanity had to prepare for what came next. Captain Peter Grant and the Horizon crew became Earth's ambassadors. They established what they called the Inheritor Council, a forum where all species who had found architect archives could meet, share knowledge, and coordinate exploration. The first council meeting was held in Earth orbit, with representatives from dozens of species attending. On Earth and in the colonies, the transformation accelerated. People lined up to volunteer for the cellular modification process. Not everyone wanted it, and that was respected. But those who did found themselves changed in wonderful ways. They could perceive more, understand more, and do more than ever before. Cities began incorporating architect building principles. Structures that generated their own power from quantum fields, buildings that filtered their own air and water, architecture that looked like art but functioned with perfect efficiency. Mars was terraformed in months instead of centuries. Using the matter manipulation techniques from the architect archives, teams of enhanced humans reshaped the planet's atmosphere, added water from ice deposits, and created a breathable environment. The first rain fell on Mars 90 days after the project began. The asteroid belt became a manufacturing hub, factories grown from living technology, like the Zelati had taught them, processed raw materials and created goods that were impossible with old human technology. Trade with alien species brought wealth and knowledge to Earth. But the most important change was in how humanity saw itself. The divisions that had separated people for centuries seemed less important. When faced with a galaxy full of diverse species, humans realized how similar they all were to each other. Old conflicts didn't disappear overnight, but they began to fade. Jake Morrison received command of a new ship, the ECS Unity. It was a Pathfinder-class vessel, but modified with combined human and Tholkan technology. His crew was mixed with humans, Tholkan warriors, and even a Navari trade advisor. It was the first truly multi-species human vessel. Their mission was exploration. The wormhole led to a galaxy cluster that the architects themselves had been trying to reach. Now it was open and someone needed to map it. meet its inhabitants, and establish friendly relations. As Jake prepared for departure, he recorded a log entry that would be shared across all human worlds. For 100 years, we thought we were alone in the universe. We dreamed of finding other life, but we never really believed it would happen in our lifetimes. Then the horizon came back and showed us the truth. We were never alone. The galaxy has been waiting for us. He paused, looking out at the stars through his view screen. Now we take our place among those stars, not as conquerors, not as merchants, not as warriors, but as equals, as partners, as friends. We bring humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, our ability to connect, to cooperate, to build bridges instead of walls. Some species will challenge us. Some will try to use us. Some will become our closest allies. We'll face all of it together, as we've faced every challenge in our history, because that's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, we reach out. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the ECS Unity beginning the first mission beyond the wormhole. We carry with us the hopes of Earth and the friendship of our alien partners. Whatever we find out there, we'll face it with courage, wisdom, and the strength that comes from unity. The Unity jumped through the wormhole, followed by a fleet of mixed-species vessels. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation. The horizon hung in orbit as both monument and reminder, a symbol of humanity's journey from isolation to connection. Dr. Lisa Warren, now leading Earth's Biological Research Division, made one final discovery in the Architect archives. It was a message hidden deep in the data, meant only for species who passed the trials. She shared it with Admiral Hayes and Captain Grant. The message was simple but profound. We built the tools. We left the knowledge. But wisdom comes only through choice. You chose unity over division. You chose cooperation over conquest. You chose to reach out rather than draw back. That is why you inherit the stars. Use them well. Admiral Hayes read the message and smiled. We will. That's a promise. Far above Earth, the wormhole pulsed with steady light. Ships from 100 worlds passed through it in both directions. Trade goods, diplomats, students, and explorers. The flow of traffic that marked a civilization joining the galactic community. On Earth, children looked up at the night sky with wonder, knowing that the stars were no longer distant dreams. They were destinations, places where humans lived and worked and played, places where they would meet beings from countless worlds. The solar system bustled with activity. Space stations orbited every major planet and moon. Ships of all sizes moved between them, some human, some alien, all part of the same connected community. Mars had cities now, real cities with millions of inhabitants. Venus was being terraformed. Even the moons of Jupiter and Saturn were being developed. But Earth remained the heart of it all. The homeworld, the place where humanity began and where it would always return. The planet that had given birth to a species that learned to reach beyond itself. In schools across Earth and the colonies, children learned new subjects. Alien languages, galactic history, architect technology, but they also learned the old lessons. Human history, the struggles and triumphs that had shaped their species. The story of the horizon and how it changed everything. The message was clear. Remember where you came from, but never stop reaching for what comes next. Years passed. Then decades. Humanity grew and flourished among the stars. The Thulkan became close allies, their warriors training alongside human crews. The Navari brought wealth and connection to thousands of worlds. The Zelathi remained mysterious but friendly, occasionally sharing gifts of knowledge that pushed human science forward. And through it all, the Horizon crew remained as advisors and teachers. They never aged, preserved by the architect modifications. Peter Grant became a legend, the captain who brought humanity to the stars. But he remained humble, always emphasizing that it wasn't one person or